Based on this recommendation of Nachiket Moore Committee, this is from your business standard. See, these are three. One is payment bank, another is small bank, and third is universal bank that we all are dealing now. Now, payment bank, this is basically for payment and remittance. Okay, payment and remittance. And when both these first and second, they are basically for small businessmen, small workers like this. And third is your universal bank. Now, in case of your payment bank, you can at max keep here. So you cannot hold more than 1 lakh deposit per balance per customer initially. Second, cannot undertake lending activities, cannot set up subsidiary to undertake non-banking finance. So payment bank will only be for transfer purpose. It will not give any loan. And the maximum amount that can be held in the payment bank will be up to 1 lakh. Second is a small bank. Small bank will offer small amount of loan, but it will not be an all India bank. Its area will be limited to few contiguous districts. Say अगर दिल्ली NCR में ऑपरेट कर रहा है, साउथ दिल्ली हो गया, गुड़गांव हो गया, and a few districts. If it is in such area, the area of operation of the bank should be in few continuous districts, not everywhere. And this will also allow small amount of loan, whereas universal bank will do everything.
These are for the urban areas.
No, this is not given urban or rural. They are not specified. They are not specified. RBI has not written urban or rural.
These will be full-fledged banks.
Just a minute.
They don't have to follow the same CRR and everything.
No. Norms for them is different. For them, norms are different. I am coming to that. See. Even the capital requirement. See, capital. See, this was about restriction. Now come to capital. Here the minimum capital should be 100 crores. Whereas in payment bank and small bank, the minimum capital will be 100 crores. So a person who is setting up this will be investing 100 crores. Whereas for your universal bank, they have put it at 500 crores. In case of universal bank, you have to achieve capital adequacy ratio of 13%. There are certain norms. Whereas in case of these two, it will be 15% as per Basel I norm. जो नए बैंक आ रहे हैं, payment bank and small bank, they have to maintain a CRAR ratio of 15% as per the old definition given in Basel I. Whereas the universal bank will be following Basel III norm, which has much stricter definition of capital. So it will be on the upper side. Okay. And other details are there, you can read. So I am not going into each and everything about that. So under the recommendation, see what is the purpose of this? We want to extend the reach. Even telecom companies, they are applying for payment bank and other. So many people have applied for it. Let's see what happens. How it will be operated. What will be the type of function. So these two type of bank will come.
So what is the benefit of small banks? Because it usually be limited. So instead of adding small branches to universal banks, why you should go for small banks?
Now come to universal bank. See, our population is large. We have the number of banks as compared to developed countries is less. So we have to expand the bank. So not everybody can set up universal bank. Allow small bank also, which can operate in a small area. See, in fact, if you go in banking, there was a committee called Narasimhan Committee. Narasimhan Committee had said that divide the bank into three structures. Narasimhan 1 was there, Narasimhan 2. First it came with 4 type of bank. One should be global level bank, all over world, 3 or 4. Second it said few national bank which has branch all over India, and rest of the bank they said that they should operate in a local area, not move everywhere. For example, UCO Bank. Why UCO Bank should open a branch in Rajasthan? एक branch खोला, profitable भी नहीं होगा. Why not UCO Bank concentrate in few areas where it can provide good service? That is concept over there. Previous committee has also said that, and Nachiket Moore has also said that.
Sir,
Huh.
the white label ATM that's been opened by Tata, is it the same concept?
No. White label ATM, that is different. White label ATM means ATM operated by any NBFC. They will either charge you or they will either charge that bank for that service. Now they are charging that bank for that service provided. It is not a bank.
So could you just give a little briefing on how the operation happens?
See, any NBFC can apply for setting up your white label ATM. So you set up an ATM. Now any consumer can use that ATM from any bank. So say I have an account with SBI. I am using this white label ATM. So SBI will be paying the charge to that particular white label ATM operator. Now several are, see why we are going for white label ATM? Because we want to expand the reach of this. See, if you want to increase the number of branch, where is the money? Who will invest the money? Now government is saying about fiscal deficit. From where this investment will come? For setting up branch for everything you will require money. So rather than government doing everything, we are now encouraging private people to come and invest. Now come to universal bank. See, from around 2008 or 9, government has been asking Reserve Bank of India to give new bank license. Patel Committee. RBI, Urjit Patel, I think last year only he joined as a deputy governor in RBI. So around the world, the norm was that most of the countries use consumer price index as the central measure of inflation. In India, the central measure of inflation was wholesale price index. So Urjit Patel Committee was set up, and Urjit Patel Committee recommended that in India the central measure of inflation should be consumer price index, CPI, instead of wholesale price index. And that recommendation has been accepted. Now consumer price index, CPI new series, remember, CPI new series has been accepted as the index combined. This is the new series that came out in 2010. So now government RBI policy is focused on this. Why new series? There is an old series of CPI. Before that, another recommendation of this Urjit Patel Committee was targeting of inflation. It set a target of 4%. The target of Urjit Patel Committee was 4% inflation rate with a margin of plus minus 2%. I think it said that target should be 4% with a range of, it can be plus 2 minus 2. So this has not been accepted by government. See, there is a tussle between government and RBI on the issue of rate of interest. So government wants RBI to bring down rate of interest so that growth will pick up. Industries will take loan, we will also take loan for consumption purpose, but RBI says that inflation will increase. So RBI said that give us a target of 4%. So now government has not accepted that. Then it has asked central government to reduce the fiscal deficit to 3% of GDP by 1670. Further it has said that you should reduce your fiscal deficit. So these are few recommendations of Urjit Patel Committee. So based on those recommendations, now CPI is the central measure of inflation. New series. Why? There is an old series of CPI. CPI में पुराना सीरीज भी है, ठीक है? CPI का जो पुराना सीरीज है, उसमें 4 आता था. CPI एग्रीकल्चर लेबर, CPI रूरल लेबर. Then there was CPI urban non-manual employee, UNME, urban non-manual employee, CPI UNME, and another was CPI industrial worker. So earlier you had 4 series. In rural area you have 2 CPI. In urban area you have 2 CPI. So it was becoming redundant. Nowadays nobody is taking food or grain for work. Everybody is taking cash. And if you go to a shopkeeper, he is not asking whether you are working in a factory or whether you are working in a coaching industry. They will charge you the same price. So the importance of this has become redundant. Based on that, this Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation came out with this new series of CPI. Okay? Achha. Why CPI is important? Because we purchase our commodity from the retail traders. So we are in fact affected by consumer price inflation, not by wholesale price inflation. And there is a big gap between WPI and CPI in India. Okay?
Sir, this has been happening since 2010.
हाँ.
The government is focused on CPI.
हाँ.
But still, I mean, when you read newspapers, they still quote WPI figures for the inflation and not the CPI figures. Right?
No, so now the policy is shifted to CPI. They give reference to both. मान लो उस पहले शुरू में WPI आ गया, तो they are referring to WPI. But now your central measure of inflation is CPI. After the acceptance of this recommendation of Urjit Patel. So RBI is targeting CPI. RBI policy will be to bring down inflation in accordance with your consumer price index. Achha, another problem with wholesale price index is that in wholesale price index you have 676 commodities. 676 commodities, but WPI does not include any services. The biggest lacuna of wholesale price index in India is that it does not include any services, whereas services are an important part of our life today. That is the biggest lacuna of your wholesale price index. Okay. Another thing is that, take the example of US. US has moved to purchase PPI, Producer Price Index. In US, you have another index that is called Producer Price Index. So they measure the inflation which is being faced by the factory wala. Now think why? Why US has shifted to Producer Price Index? Because in US, the supply chain is very short. The gap between factory and end user is maximum 1 to 2. तो फैक्ट्री वाला ने सप्लाई किया किसको Walmart and Walmart is selling to you. So basically their inflation is, if producer is getting the inflation, the supplier will get. But in India you have 6 or 8 intermediaries. So it changes. So US is now working on PPI, whereas we are working towards CPI. And CPI also includes services.
So what about purchase price parity?
Uh,
Where does that come in?
Purchasing power parity. Now see, PPP, this is used for calculation. You will find that different calculations are made. One is, say, GDP normal, one is GDP based on PPP, purchasing power parity. Now say, take example of 2 services. For example, service of an equivalent doctor. Let's take the service of an equivalent doctor in India and say US. Say in US the fee is say $20. In India the service charge of similar doctor is say 600 rupees. So $20 is purchasing the same service as 600 rupees. So in PPP term, $1 is equal to 30 rupees. Whereas the market price of dollar is around 58, 59, 60, whatever it may be. So in making PPP calculation, we take not only one, you will take an index of say 5, 8 or 10 things, and based on that you make calculation. So in actual US dollar term, our economy may be back. In PPP term, it can be 3rd and 4th or 5th. So when you measure it in terms of PPP and when you measure in terms of dollar, there will be variation. Okay?
But UADP is used
UNDP is? See, there are different index. It's going into for measuring what? PP for measuring.
I was going through the 8 objectives of UNDP here, and one of the criteria for measuring inflation across different groups was in CPI. It was triple B.
I don't know exact calculation what they have used. See, every organization has its own calculation method. So basic concept is over here.
So where does inflation come into the
See, in case of inflation in triple P, they are measuring inflation in terms of purchasing power parity. See, I don't have an exact idea on that, but what I can suggest is that what is the increase in price of doctor fee in US and fee in India? Based on this average, you can make a calculation. So I have not read that, so I am not able to dig deeper into that. I don't have an exact idea of that, therefore I am not going into that. Okay. Achha. Now, inflation is there, so government takes several measures for inflation control. One of the work of government is control of inflation. See, every government, one of the responsibility of government is to control price rise so that people in lower income group are not affected. Now if you go into the inflation control measures, these are the important inflation control measures. Government has divided it into these aspects. Number one is, first come over here. First measure is fiscal measure. Inflation control measure, how to contain inflation, that has been divided into these major groups. First is fiscal measure. So what you do, you reduce the import duty. If प्याज की कमी हो गई, so you are importing onion. If you are putting duty on it, price will further rise. So you reduce the onion duty on imported item. Duty free import. These are some example of fiscal measure. ठीक है. Second aspect is administrative measure. जब भी किसी चीज कमी होगा, मान लो अभी pulse का कमी है, pulse is less, you will reduce the import duty to 0, so pulse will not be that, price will come down. Second is administrative measures. Administrative measure में first ban the export. One thing you can ban the export. For example, you are banning the export of onion. So भाई onion का price बढ़ रहा है. Or price pulse. One is you can ban the export. Another method is mechanism of minimum export price. Rather than giving a complete ban, we can say that the minimum export price of onion will be rupees 100. International market में price है say 50 rupees. कौन खरीदेगा? कोई नहीं खरीदेगा. So price will be, you will not be able to export. One is complete ban and other is putting minimum export price. Number two, future trading. You all know sometimes the price of commodity increase due to future trading. You can put ban on future trading on certain commodities. Third, stock limits are imposed. Under Essential Commodities Act and other, they can put a limit on the amount of stock that can be hoarded by a person. And for implementation of this, you have district authorities. That is why DM, ADM and other, they raid the godowns. If the government gets a message that people have stocked up onion, pulse, oil and they are jacking up the price, they can raid the. This is called as your administrative measures. Then fourth aspect, that was second, then come to third aspect, this one. The government also undertakes various measures to insulate vulnerable section from price rise. It can take special action for vulnerable section. For example, now in your PDS system we have two categories, APL and BPL. For BPL they can come out with new things. Antyodaya Yojana, wheat and rice and 2 rupee or 3 rupee a kg. So for these vulnerable sections, special schemes can be organized. ठीक है, ये थर्ड हो गया आपका। फोर्थ मेजर होता है बजटरी एंड अदर मेजर्स दैट यू अनाउंस इन द गवर्नमेंट, दैट यू अनाउंस इन द बजट। नाउ से price of horticulture product is increasing, price of pulse is increasing. Why? Because there is a mismatch in demand and supply. Population has increased, but product, see, green revolution, one of the lacuna of green revolution is production of pulse and oilseed has not increased. Sometimes green revolution is referred to as wheat revolution or rice revolution, especially wheat revolution. So now you can announce special package in budget. For example, see, national mission for protein supplement. You can come out with isopop integrated scheme on oilseed, maize and palm. So in budget you announce special mechanism. Another problem is, say in horticulture, 40% of the horticulture product is wasted. From farm to your house, 40% of it is wasted. Government can announce a special scheme for warehouse. So these all will come under your budgetary schemes. Then fifth is monetary measures, that is supply of money. That is taken by RBI that we have discussed. CRR, SLR, ठीक है? तो प्राइस कंट्रोल करने के लिए 5 मेजर्स हो गए आपके। फिजिकल मेजर्स, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मेजर्स, then your special action for vulnerable group, fourth your budgetary and other measures, and fifth is your monetary measures. And now government has also some priorities. For example, the new government. The new government is saying that we should shift to market determined price and not government determined price. The new government says that we should move toward market. We should slowly dismantle the structure of APM, administered pricing mechanism.
Sir, sir, can we discuss about the monetary measures in detail as in?
See, monetary measures in detail. See, one thing is that we can impose limit on the overdraft given to grain traders. भाई मान लो grain traders या horticulture traders are doing hoarding. We can say कि overdraft नहीं मिलेगा. No overdraft should be given. Second, government can say loan उस sector को मत दो. Don't give loan to that particular sector. Third, they will increase CRR and SLR. So when CRR and SLR is increased, what happens? Money supply will be reduced. But generally that is not done. Rather than what government has done, government has increased, particularly D. Subbarao Sahab. आप देखो 2008 से from 2008 to 2012 food inflation was very high. So what D. Subbarao Sahab did, he increased the repo rate continuously for 13 times. So what happened? When repo rate increased, loan to bank became costly, and further banks gave loans at a costly rate. So it helped in bring, see, that is why there is dispute between government and RBI. Government says that despite increasing repo rate, it did not bring down inflation. What was the reason? One of the important reason is your APMC, Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee Act. See, agriculture is a state subject, you know. In India you have 3 things: union list, state list and concurrent list. So agriculture is in state list. The central had got out an ideal APMC Act long back in 2004, and it has asked all the state government to adopt the APMC Act. Under APMC Act, you are producing something in Haryana, but this cannot be sold in Delhi. It can be sold only in the APMC regulated market. From there it will be supplied to Delhi. Due to that, what happened? APMC mandis formed cartel and they increased the price. So now APMC Act has been repealed by most of the states, and now you can produce anywhere and sell anywhere. So most of the states have repealed APMC especially for horticulture product. So see what happened during 2008 or 9, when onion was selling for rupees 40 a kg in your Chandigarh, the same onion was sold in Delhi for 100 rupees a kg. भाई 250 किलोमीटर में प्राइस 2.5 गुना कैसे हो सकता है? It means a local cartel is there. That is why APMC Act has been amended. See, one of the reasons behind allowing FDI in multi-brand retail, that is Walmart and other, government says that they will set up supply chain. One of the law behind that was 50% of the investment will be back-end infrastructure. केवल दुकान नहीं बनाना है, back-end infrastructure, cold supply chain. अगर आप 40% वेस्टेज को reduce कर ले तो up to 10% or 20%, your supply will increase by around 30%. There is no need for additional production. So these are some of the measures. Let's see what the new government does. Modi ji has not made clear whether he is for or against. इलेक्शन के पहले उससे पूछा गया था तो उन्होंने बोला कि आवर शॉपकीपर्स हैव इमेंस पोटेंशियल, बहुत शक्ति हमारे दुकानदारों में. ये बोला ही नहीं कि करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे. So most probable chance that he will also allow FDI in multi-brand retail. And one of the aspects is cold chain infrastructure. Food pricing is basically affected by these APMC mandi, and second is lack of storage. अभी टमाटर सस्ता है, 15 दिन बाद महंगा होगा क्यों? टमाटर is a perishable item, you cannot store tomato. Until and unless you have mechanism. See what has happened. See in India, agriculture cooperatives have not worked well, whereas milk cooperative has been highly successful. Amul and all those, what they have done? They have built a supply chain right from village up to your home. आपके गली में जो किराना शॉप है वहां पर क्या करता है? कोल्ड सप्लाई चेन मेंटेन किया है. जो मिल्क 2 दिन में खराब हो जाता है आपके पास 10 दिन में पहुंचता है, आप यूज कर लेते हो. Now take the example of Tetra Pak milk, 6 महीने तक आप रख सकते हो. So if you increase the shelf life of horticulture product, you can control food inflation. Interest rate को बढ़ा के आप कितना भी बढ़ा दो, you cannot control. टमाटर तो खराब ही हो जाएगा ना. So you have to increase investment in infrastructure, particularly cold chain. JNK में एप्पल को स्टोर करने के लिए एक भी उसके पास कोल्ड स्टोरेज नहीं था. एप्पल प्रोड्यूस किया, सड़ने लग गया. So you will sell in distress. So those things are required to control price. Not only interest rate, but for food inflation, you have to work in those areas also.
Sir, is food the only reason for inflation or there are other reasons?
See, there are other components also. In wholesale price index, the weightage of food item is around 24 to 25%. But two things were leading to high inflation. One was your food item and second was your international oil price. Oil and fuel has a weightage of around 14%. ठीक है? Oil and fuel has a weightage of around 14%. Just a minute, I will show you. ठीक है, उसमें चैप्टर है प्राइस एंड मॉनेटरी मैनेजमेंट.
Sir,
हाँ.
sir, does RBI governor really has power? Because in one of the article I read, Subbarao was like handicapped with the policies of.
No. RBI has a lot of autonomy. At least in case of RBI, आप देखो D. Subbarao, he followed his own principle. Raghuram Rajan, he also followed his own principle.
End results were nothing in case of Subbarao.
In case of,
For Subbarao, end results were nothing.
see, he may not pay. See, that is why there was dispute that high interest rate led to slowing down of the economy. But he was adamant. He followed his principle. He said that our priority at present is to control inflation. He did that. Despite all those angry notes coming from P. Chidambaram, he could not do anything. He could not remove him. Neither he could force him to do anything. So RBI has lot of autonomy. At least RBI has done well. उसमें कोई आरोप भी नहीं लगा है. For last 50 or 60 years, we have rarely found that RBI has been accused of any scam or any other thing. RBI has done well. RBI is one institution where at least anything has not been proved till date. ठीक है? So RBI governor has lot of autonomy, so they are able to follow their own. So आप देख सकते हो थर्ड चैप्टर. इस साल का इकोनॉमिक सर्वे या प्रीवियस ईयर का इकोनॉमिक सर्वे जाओगे, थर्ड चैप्टर यू विल गेट फ्रॉम हियर. Even in trade, there is chapter one trade. So these are more authentic documents rather than going through newspaper or newspaper. You can read current thing, but for these aspects you can refer to economic survey. Okay, so thank you. I will take leave now. So sir is waiting for 2 hours. 37.15, and for combined it is 49%. And for combined it is 49%. So हर में अलग अलग weightage है. For combined CPI combined it is 49%. ठीक है? So thank you.
We'll continue the session Tuesday. Coming Tuesday, we'll talk about the economic problems again. It will open on your SIS, so book that session. We'll see what handouts we can give you. So that's something that we would do from our end. And I think a learning session for a lot of us. So we should thank sir. Yes? Thank you, sir. And now now for the next session, I have Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Chaudhary with me. What he'll do is he'll take us through the polity, the Indian political system. And sir is actually a member of Indian Institute of Public Administration. So we'll learn a lot from him. So over to sir now.